Hi, I'm Carl Swan. Thank you for joining me this week for Entrepreneurs in Action. We're talking with Greg Sheridan of Sans Souci, Cafe, Banquet Center, and Catering. Welcome. Nice to have
Thanks
you.
for having me.
Nice to have you as our guest today. Can you describe your business for us, Greg? Just telling us when you founded it, what it does, and where you operate.
Well, I started in 1994, and we started out of my home on Cedar Street as primarily an off-premise catering company. Started my own home kitchen, and after many years of transition and doing other things, I trained as a chef. I did come here to Loyalist College, take hotel restaurant management. Met my wife. And then I wanted to further my education. Went on to George Brown. And took advanced chef training there. In the meantime, I was working at several different restaurants, and I apprenticed with Ramada, all in the scheme of moving on. Actually, we were thinking of going to the States at one point, but that didn't happen. Early 90s and such. My wife had a good job here at BGH, and I was commuting. I was working in Toronto at the Four Seasons Yorkville, and I was the sous chef at Ramada in Kingston. But we were living here, and commuting, young, married, and decided then to start a business here, because honestly I couldn't find a job that paid me what I wanted to do. But on a whim and in a sense, I thought we'd done catering when I worked in Kingston, and I thought, well, I'll give that a go. We started small in-house things. Our first Christmas season, I got a few catering jobs, and we did 4 or 5 Christmas functions, and then it set off. It was kind of a struggle at first, the first 5 years to get yourself established, so that people knew what you're doing, especially since we weren't a retail location, just doing off-premise catering, doing functions out of the house. And, and started to build and get bigger, and we outgrew the house. Obviously our family was growing, you couldn't do really other, it was kind of on the fly, self-financing, and then decided to then, we had to get a better situation. So we went and bought a bigger home with a double garage, and I built a commercial kitchen in our double garage. Completely commercial. Like, it was always the jaw-dropping factor when we had new people come in to see it, because you'd walk up to the house and you'd just think, wow, this is a normal thing, and it's like, where's it going? It's like, well, we're going into the double garage. And you'd have deliveries and open the door, and you'd swear you were in any other commercial kitchen. We had the ranges, like commercial ranges and such, and it continued to grow. We just kept every year getting bigger and bigger, and more clients, and, adding vehicles. Started with just a small catering van, and the next thing I had 2 vans. The next thing I had a cube truck with a kitchen in the back of it. Next thing I had a cargo trailer. Next thing we had semi trucks doing deliveries every Tuesday morning. And it just got crazy. And a lot of people say, "How you must have had really forgiving neighbors." And I always call it, it's the boiling frog theory. It's that if you put a frog in cold water, like we moved in, everything was nice and fine, but then the frog, then you turn the water on, and then the water slowly comes up to a boil, and next thing that's what kills the frog, as opposed if you try to throw the frog into the water, it would jump out. So it came to kind of a fruition, but 5 years ago it was a big transition for us. That essentially, like I told you, my wife's a nurse at Belleville General Hospital, and she works 12-hour shifts and has to sleep at night. And it's the middle of Christmas season. We're doing multiple functions. I think we had 5 or 6 Christmas parties at night, and the catering company again, crept into the house. That's where my front office was. It was, where we meet somebody's dining room. And, I had 6 staff there rolling cutlery and around the front door because it's winter time, so we had stacks of plates. Can't put them in the truck yet, they're too cold, and that's all stacked around our front foyer and all that. And, of course, probably woke my wife up, and she came down the stairs, came out to the kitchen. I won't tell you exactly what she said to me, but she said, "See, that's enough, we're out of here, we got to do something." And we had grown to a point that, we had to expand. So it was then a bit of a travel to go around and find a location. We purchased the property thinking of just doing a gourmet to go place, somewhere where we can go, like a lot of, like you go to Metro and such, they have where you can get meals and things like that.
Yes,
and continuing, because it would feed nicely with a catering, so that you have a cross-purposing of product and such. But that didn't happen. The expense of setting up, I didn't think the return didn't feel right. Then another property came up, which we purchased, but then through complications, it was a restaurant with a banquet facility, and that fell through. Then all of a sudden, I thought, you know what, we're kind of going to give up, and I thought maybe we'll do something else, build a house and build it with a purpose-built kitchen as opposed to transforming a garage into a catering and getting in a different situation. But that, we couldn't find the property, and then all of a sudden we got approached by a real estate agent about the 10th Ox, which was downtown 40 French Street, which was the old former Shoppers Drug Mart, and they had established some of what is in the front of the building, what was his retail area, and then he had a yoga studio, and I looked at it and I saw this big storage area in the rear, and I thought, you know what, we can do something with this. And so we purchased the property, and then what became one of those, it became a bigger project than I thought it was going to be, to say the least. And this is one of those things, I think, in business itself, when you grow. And I had seen the danger in that, and a lot in the past when you see other businesses that they successfully grow or they get in danger, because it's those transition points that's where danger can land you in, right?
Absolutely.
Especially with this, when you thought you had a good idea what was going to cost, but then when it more than doubled the expense, and so it was a struggle for us. It's been a struggle for us because now we had to we got to give them guaranteed loans, and then the great people at Trendville helped bridge the finance, some of that last little bit that we couldn't get because we'd also run up all our lines of credits and stuff like that to build this place, to establish a kitchen, to get the fire separation and such, and so it became a huge project on our part, but it's coming around now. It's that, but then I think that's always there's that danger point that you have to carry through. Fortunately, we had built such a strong business over I guess almost 20 years now, being in the catering business, that the catering portion of the business has carried us through, and it's grown, and it's coming along quite well. And now we've added a different element to our business, that we have a cafe. A fantastic conference room and banquet area, which we love, because quite frankly, all these years that we would be going and loading vehicles and taking things on the road, constantly going elsewhere. It's such a joy now to actually have, we have a 1,200 square foot kitchen that we can do all our prep and do all our functions and do everything we need to do out the back door. Plus now having a facility with a conference and a banquet area in it to do functions there. And you know, it's been a joy too, because we've had many weddings. In fact, we've had 2 weddings in the location where in our front area we have the cafe with a lovely water wall, and we've converted it into a chapel, and,
Yes.
And people got married
beautiful.
in front of the water wall, and you know, so it's been an adventure, I'll say that much. And now we feel that it's really starting to take root and be a little more comfortable, and you know, the dog's not at the door anymore as much, and we see that, you know, okay, this is going to work for us.
If you had to give advice to new entrepreneurs, what would that be? If you had just some of the I mean, what you've gone through, what would that advice be?
Well, a lot of it, I think, firstly, you should obviously love what you're doing, but also know what you're doing. Research it before you jump in a little bit. Definitely try to get that experience perhaps in somebody else's hands first, in what you're doing, you know, because, you know, in the hospitality industry, we see a lot of people who say, well, you know, it might be great to own a restaurant, let's go to that. But if you have no idea what the true ins and outs of the restaurant, I think you should just keep dining at a restaurant as opposed to going and opening one, you know, because there's a lot of facets that you don't understand, and the amount of work that you have to do that. And be willing to sacrifice. It's long, hard days, you know, it's not going to be that immediate, you know. That's another big thing. And then, yeah, maybe also do a little bit of research that maybe I should have did when we purchased the property. But, you know, once you commit to something, commit to it wholeheartedly.
Thank you, Greg. Thanks, Greg, for sharing that insight into Sans Souci and also for the insight into entrepreneurship. That's very, very helpful. People get a lot out of that. So,
It was my pleasure.
delightful. Welcome back. We're talking with Cindy Dow. Cindy is the owner-operator of Interiors by Cindy, and she's going to answer some questions for us on entrepreneurship and talking about her personal successes. So I'm glad you're with us today, Cindy.
Thank you.
So just can you describe your business for us, you know, what you do, where you operate, and the things that when you founded the business. So just give us some insights into Interiors by Cindy.
Sure. I do interior design and creating spaces for residential and commercial. And I act as a bit of a curator with subtrades and suppliers, bringing the vision together to complete the project. I started, even though I've been in the business working for 25 years, I started Interiors by Cindy in 2007.
So it's kind of end-to-end, right from the start, right to finish.
Exactly,
Right? Wow.
yes.
Excellent. What inspired you to be an entrepreneur and to found your own business?
Probably my father, because he's been in some form of business all of his life, so it's been the topic of conversation for years. And so it seemed natural for me. I guess it's in my blood.
And your industry insight, I mean, you have a lot of insight, obviously, into interiors. Where did that come from?
Again, I have to give that to my father because he had a construction company, kitchen showroom in Eastern Ontario, and built houses. So I started with him 15 years ago and worked with him for 15 years, and then moved to the Belleville area and worked in a couple of different showrooms, but had the opportunity to go through the self-employment benefit program with Trenval and develop and start up my own business.
Excellent.
So it's exciting.
Yeah, enjoy it, obviously.
Yeah, it's great.
What were the greatest challenges you faced when you started your business?
Initially, it was probably finding contractors that I was confident in working with that could transform again my design into completion, and that I wanted to represent my team and be in customers' homes and be able to complete the project without too much stress for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So initially, I guess, meeting good contractors, which I'm really happy that I have now.
Mm-hmm. So you've been able to build that team and put it
Exactly.
together to,
Yeah.
to give you the business of today. To what do you attribute your success to date? You are successful. What do you attribute that to?
A lot of hard work, determination, consistency, having a plan and sticking to that plan.
Plan is important.
Exactly.
Excellent. What would you say are the key elements about starting a business? What are the key things that in starting it that you look at?
Probably having support from my family. Definitely my husband was a big instigator in giving me the plan to go ahead and do it. And just being organized and having the skills to implement what you wanted to do.
Obviously, you want to grow your business. So what are some of the things you're doing to grow your business? New customers, new prospects, and key influencers in the marketplace, that kind of
Right.
thing.
Keeping up with trends and visiting, interior design shows and watching what is new. We've worked hard to transform our living space and then eventually into the design studio. We're excited to be building a new home and having the opportunity to showcase even more design products and services that I can offer to the client. And just being involved in the community and giving back to the community.
That's important,
Definitely,
the community.
yes.
What outsiders have been important to you in terms of your business? Mentors or that kind of thing? Have there been outsiders that have been important?
Again, I keep going back to my father, but
That's
he
fine.
certainly is a mentor
important.
that, he planted the seed of entrepreneurship in all of us as children. And knowing that, anything that we put our mind to and just put the effort into, we could
You can do it.
accomplish, for sure,
Important guy, isn't it?
definitely.
That's very, very important. What would you say are the important skills needed to be an entrepreneur? What are the skill sets that that help people?
Probably determination of, again, creating that plan, following through, being organized. There's a lot of balancing to running your business as well as having your family time and taking care of yourself too.
Important.
Definitely, yeah.
Looking after your health and looking
That's
after your
right.
drive and that kind of thing. What's your favorite aspect about being an entrepreneur?
Probably the independence, being able to create my own schedule, having time for myself, and I'm working on doing that even more, but being able to make my own schedule and work when I want. Sometimes it's 3 in the morning, sometimes it's 3 in the afternoon, whatever I feel like working, as long as the work is getting done.
What has been the most satisfying moment in your business? What has been very satisfying to you when you look around what you've accomplished?
I find at the end of the day, it's having that completed project and having that customer be happy, smiling, enjoying that space, transforming their living space or commercial space into something that they're proud of.
So it's that customer feedback,
Exactly.
smile. That's a good way
Yes.
of putting it.
Yeah.
Seeing them smile, and
Definitely.
happy with what. Where did your company's funding and capital come from when you were starting out? Did you have access to capital and that kind of thing? Was it a challenge?
Actually, I didn't really need money startup. I worked hard for the first 3 years to transform this bonus living space into a showroom. And building up, I borrowed money to buy a truck and a trailer, and basically that's my overhead. So there wasn't a lot of overhead, startup cost involved.
So it was relatively simple in that way
Yes.
in terms of, other than hard work
Yeah.
that went into it. What advice would you give to entrepreneurs young people starting out in a business, or people who want to start their own business, that type of thing? What kind of advice would you give them?
I would say just go for it. It's exciting, it's challenging, it's all those emotions that you feel when you do start something new that's not maybe familiar, but in the end, it's always worth it.
It's worth it. Yeah, it's the drive. Eh? That's it. I guess the thing about entrepreneurship is knowing when, I guess, to take the challenge and to run with the challenge. Was that something that, you know, when you were just starting out, that you just said, okay, it's time now and I need to do that? Or?
I think so. I mean, again, I worked for a couple of different places, but I found that the customers were asking for this. They wanted more. They wanted more than just the basics of cabinets and counters. They wanted help with flooring and lighting and sub-trades and creating that whole package, that what I call total look design, so that I'm taking care of all those things for them so they can go and do their job and not have to worry about it.
Excellent. Thank you. Thanks very, very much, Cindy, for sharing your personal insights into your business and insights into entrepreneurship. I know people will find that very, very helpful. Just in case you missed it, this is our tip of the week.
Study the number and don't be afraid of this number. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad. Sometimes it's really bad. But
they have
end
to
of
be.
the day, they're going to be good.
Yes.
Because
A lot of the feedback that I get, it's great pride that you have, because you know what, it's all you. Like this is a part of you, and it's and the success, and people being able to see, and people being happy and being comfortable. It all is a reflection of what you've done to help them. So it's rewarding.
Know what you're doing. Research it before you jump in a little bit. Definitely try to get that experience perhaps in somebody else's hands first, in what you're doing, because in the hospitality industry, we see a lot of people who say, well, it might be great to own a restaurant, let's go to that. But if you have no idea what the true ins and outs of the restaurant, I think you should just keep dining at a restaurant as opposed to go and opening one.
A potential new entrepreneur, I would advise that to gain as much knowledge in the industry and business as possible before you actually start your business. You want to know, where you're focused towards. Resources are a key element, and I think there's just not enough resources out there for a young entrepreneur. I felt essentially lost when I started.
I would say just go for it. It's exciting, it's challenging, it's all those emotions that you feel when you do start something new that's not maybe familiar, but in the end, it's always worth it.
Thank you for joining us. See you next time for more Entrepreneurs in Action.